like to offer some advice for preparing for taking a math or stats test. Every strategy that I'm going to go over has been evidence-based, research-based, and reportedly been shown to improve performances on exams. So in other words, they work. So most of the research indicates that these are not that hard to implement either. And I know you've got your own ways of studying, and hopefully that worked well for you on test one. But if you haven't tried some of these, I encourage you to try them as you're getting ready for the next test in your class. You should have the worksheet already on preparing for taking a math test. And if you haven't already filled out part one, please do that now before you watch the rest of the video, which that's going to include what did you do to prepare for your first test? Do you think it worked? Why or why not? All right, so hopefully you have that filled out. So let's go over some other strategies that maybe you do use, maybe not. But please be taking notes about things that might work that are suggested here in this video. So first, start with a plan. You've got to have a plan for studying. You can't just randomly approach it. So what is it that you need to review? There's probably some things you know that maybe a short amount of time reviewing would help. There's probably some things you have no idea what's going on, and maybe you need to meet with a teacher or instructor or your group to help you understand what's going on. What are things that are mixed up in your mind? So get that plan together. Be realistic. How much time can you actually devote to studying? Not how much you'd like to, but how much you really are going to be able to. What is reasonable? And then make a schedule for yourself for these next few days. Okay. And as you make that schedule, make sure it's enough time to prepare. So cramming tends to not work. If the test is only asking for definitions and details you can memorize, then cramming can be successful. However, when you have to apply the content, solve the problems, in some way demonstrate you understand the concepts, cramming is pretty much not going to work for you. For every kind of exam, particularly math and stats, studying in shorter periods of time across several days is better. You need to try that this time. You could spend 5 hours the night before or schedule a half-hour session for the 10 days leading up to the test. You're spending the same amount of time, but you're going to get much more effective study sessions when you do the shorter amount of time over a longer period, over like a couple weeks. All right, rereading notes is not effective. So you may have taken good notes. Hopefully you have, and hopefully they can help you figure out what's going on to it, going into the exam, or that the teacher thinks is important. But just going over your notes isn't the best strategy. When you keep rereading something, what happens is it really looks familiar and it makes you think you know it. But just because you know where the words are on the page or you remember the specific class, it doesn't mean you understand what they mean. You have to get into your notes. That means figure out what you don't know, talk to your instructor, talk to other students, go to the Math Learning Center. What problems can you do or what problems can't you do on your own? In your notes, you should have examples that the teacher has done. You should have homework problems. All those things are going to help you know what you can and can't do. If you find that out early enough, you can get some help before the day before the exam. You need to test yourself. All right, think about different questions, and these can be homework problems. Your teacher assigned them because they thought they would be useful to help you understand the concepts. These can be examples the teacher has done in class. These can be things you found online. So look at your notes. Ask yourselves, what kind of questions or what kind of examples, what kind of problems did the teacher go over a lot? And if there was something they went over a lot, then there's a really high probability it's going to be on the exam. Find some questions like that. Make some up if you feel confident enough, and then try them. You may need to try them the first time by looking at your notes, maybe the next study session. Then you do it without your notes and see if you know it better each time. So you've seen also the type of questions that were on the first test. So make sure you're trying those types of problems. Practice that over and over. You've got time if you schedule it. Mix up your practice. So think about it. Your exam generally doesn't come in exactly the order the instructor gave you the information. Sometimes it does, but even then it skips around in different problems. It's mixed up, and that's how you ought to study it. Make sure you do one of one type of problem and then skip to a totally different type of problem and then back to another. You're going to have a lot of concepts on any given test. Practice all those, but don't practice like 10 of one and then 10 of another. Each study session should have several different types of problems in it so that you can be ready for that when you see it on the test. And finally, believe in yourself. You've got to get the information stored in a place where you can retrieve it. It's all laid out there by your instructor. Your practicing is going to help you get it stored where you're going to be able to retrieve it. Build the connections. What have you seen in the first test that's going to be on the next test? Maybe you did some factoring in the first test. That could be on the second test. Maybe you did something with percentages. That's likely to be on the second test, and so on. So practice those types of things. Look for connections between some things you already know and the things that are new. You're more likely to be able to successfully answer questions on it if you're looking for something and you're truly understanding it. So, take a deep breath and set yourself about the task of preparing for your next test.